Hello and welcome to In Conversation with Kashmir Times. I'm Anuradha Bhasin. The Indian Supreme Court has restored the life prison sentences for the 11 men convicted of raping Bilkis Bano during the communal riots in Gujarat in 2002. The 11 men who were convicted for gang rape and murdering 7 members of Bilkis Bano's family, including her 3-year-old daughter, were released last year by the Gujarat government. Joining me today is Revati Laul, a journalist, author, and an activist. She is one of the petitioners, among the first, along with Subhasini Ali and Roop Rekha Verma, who challenged the Supreme Court in the Supreme Court the remission of the 11 convicts. Thank you for taking out time, Revati.
Thanks for having me, Anuradha.
So, how do you see the judgment? Has justice been done?
Absolutely. And it's a chink in a very dark tunnel of toxic hate that we all inhabit now. And I think that it's quite it's encouraging for so many reasons because India's 75th year of independence and the Independence Day celebration of our 75th year as a republic, as an independent republic, August 15th, 2022, was used by the central government and not just the state government of Gujarat, because the sanction for the release of the 11 convicts of this pogrom against Muslims was sanctioned by the Home Ministry. This is there in the judgment. And basically, the optics of it is that there's a massive orchestra of hate in which we are its audience, and we want this. And so, therefore, what the judgment did was to strike a blow at the heart of this toxic politics of hate in India, to say, sorry, but this is against the rule of law. The state has committed fraud by falsifying evidence and keeping stuff from the court. And if there is no rule of law, there is no state. And these 11 men going back unravels the judicial pretense and the fig leaf that there is a state that is not supporting this toxic politics, because this politics is being supported to the fullest by by our power brokers, not just by the people who sanctioned the release of the convicts, but also the Home Ministry of India that gave a red tick to say, yes, these men can be released. And then to make a ceremony of this grotesque hate by saying India's 75th year of independence will be used as the occasion for this release sends out the message that basically minorities and women do not count except as objects of the fantasy of hate of the majority. There was a death blow to that. But it is up to us as the audience of the and the voyeurs who consume this politics of hate across the country to stop consuming it. It is being supplied to us because we like it. And that is the bold truth, Anuradha, you and I have to face up to as mirrors of our society, as keepers of some sort of some semblance of truth in times of falsehood. This is the truth we have to tell ourselves because it's a very ugly truth and we don't like to look at it.
Yeah, when the convicts were released, there were many celebrations by the Hindu majoritarian groups, and they were garlanded and taken out in processions, and many of us were shocked. You went beyond that.
Yes. But
What compelled you
the
to approach the
celebration and
court?
the celebration by Hindu groups, these are non-state actors. But for the state to use India's 75th year of independence is a whole different thing. That's why I keep underlining that, because that is official. Nothing the BJP and our government ever says or does can take away from the fact that the state did this. Just like the Congress cannot get around the fact that in 1986 they wrote a new law to prevent Muslim women from getting alimony for divorce, and that was the Shah Bano case, saying Muslim women will have to follow Sharia law. And in doing that, they struck the first death blow to our secular fabric and made it seem like power and appeasing Muslims was the only important thing, and they gave a chink in the door for the BJP forever. Now there is a chink in the door on the opposite side, and the court has stood by these basic constitutional principles and the principles of justice and humanity worldwide in saying that this is against the rule of law and it is fraud. And that is why I'm saying that non-state actors garlanding convicts is different from the state using our 75th year of independence for it. That's a very, very different order of atrocity. What made me do this? I feel that the whole reason I became a journalist, just like you, Anuradha, is because the Babri Masjid was demolished in 1992 by Hindu mobs while I was a student in college, and that was my first reckoning with this dark side that India has. You know, the other face of India that I wasn't exposed to, living in a little bubble in Delhi, as an upper caste, upper middle class person, not aware that there's all of this bubbling under the surface. And that reckoning of that horror and the destruction of the mosque left an indelible imprint in my mind. And I said that the reason I became a journalist is because I realized that politics is personal. It ought to be, and it ought to strike at the very heart of who you are, your basic identity as a person. Are you someone that stands up against hate, or are you someone who promotes this hate? When the fault line is so deep, then I felt that the reason I decided to be a teller of truth and of facts is because I could have easily been a member of a mob if it wasn't for the fact that I read, that I was exposed, and that a lot of people are not reading and are not exposed to the truth. So I felt that it was important to tell those stories repeatedly, and that's why I became a journalist in the first place. So when this travesty or this grotesque magnitude of it happened, that it engulfed us all, and Subhasini Ali, who took the lead in tying up with Kapil Sibal, or a senior legal counsel, and decided to file this petition. And they were looking for a third petitioner after they had already signed on Roop, Rekha, Verma. And they said, "Would you like to be one of the petitioners?" Because they felt I had a locus standi on Gujarat. I'd reported there after the 2002 riots for NDTV. I wrote a book called The Anatomy of Hate about the people who were part of the mob. One of them met Bilkis Bano, and therefore he changed his mind and went from being an almost fanatic to a left liberal atheist. And that's why this story was so important and dear to me, and I felt I had to be a part of this petition.
The Supreme Court verdict has used strong words, like usurpation of power and that the order was obtained by fraud. You've said it's not just the Gujarat government, and of course, yeah, the Home Minister, the Union Home Ministry, okayed the remissions. Uh, so these observations actually tell us about, how the power or is abused by the executive, as you said. So it's important for courts to take a stand and check such brazen abuse of power, I think everybody will agree. But whether this blatant abuse of power is an aberration or is it a norm? And do you think that the court should have gone beyond the strong strictures and fixed responsibility, held the executive accountable, and kind of fixed culpability to set an example? You
I think what they did do, Anuradha, is that they did do that. If they had gone further, it could have been used to, for example, if someone else ever wants to appeal for pardon in some other kind of case, which we can't imagine, they didn't want to allow executive overreach. I think what they've done is an absolutely sterling thing by saying two things. They said the rule of law has been trashed. They took the government